So in this call, I'm going to talk about Impossible 2026. And Impossible 2026 is this program that we started earlier this year. I launched my book, my internet fasting book, earlier this year. And with a package, if you bought 10 or more copies, you would get access to Impossible 2026. And what does Impossible 2026 mean? Well, literally that. How can you achieve something that for you might feel impossible? How can you create a goal or create multiple goals or maybe one North Star where you feel like if that would be a possibility, if I would achieve that, my whole life would be different. And that's why the name of this program is called Impossible 2026. So right now, at this moment of recording, it's April 27th. It's King's Day in the Netherlands, and we're almost 1/3 through the year. And if you started this program on January 1st, you started this program because you wanted 2026 to be impossible in the best way possible. That you have a massive shift or a massive breakthrough or maybe a completely new reality for yourself, knowing that that is available within 1 year. Within 1 year, your whole life can literally change. However, we're at 1/3 right now of this year, and I'm just curious, like, where are you right now? All the goals and all the ideas and all the dreams that you had on January 1st of this year, where are you right now? Or maybe if you watch the recording and it's even further in the year, where are you right now? Did you have that massive breakthrough already? Are you already in this completely new reality? Have you already achieved the impossible? And whenever I talk about achieving the impossible, I'm not necessarily talking about fixing yourself or making yourself better because you're not enough or whatever. I truly feel and I truly believe that if you're very happy with yourself, knowing who you are, and not feeling unworthy, but also knowing like, man, there's just so much potential in me and there's just so much for me to create because I am who I am. If you truly believe that, then Impossible 2026 is like the most amazing thing that can happen to you. But I'm gonna be very honest with you today. During these calls, we do these calls every 6 weeks or so. I try to invite you or maybe even challenge you to some new ideas. And in the previous call, I talked about how you can actually become so much more prolific and so much more productive and do just so much more by actually switching off the internet, applying internet fasting, making some decisions that will actually move the ball forward. And that's a habit that you can adopt. And maybe you've done that, or maybe you've done it for a while and you fell off or whatever. It's all good, it all happens. But we're 1/3 in now for the year. And if you really and still want to make 2026 impossible, maybe there's something else that you need to do. And this something else that you might need to do, I'm going to talk about that. And it's a big one. And to be honest, most people won't do this. So most people won't do this. What I'm going to talk about, most people won't do this. It'll guarantee change your life completely. However, I do feel that a lot of people, and I don't like to say most people, but a lot of people, I'm 100% aware that most people won't do this, but with this, what I'm talking about right now, I don't like to say most people, but it is sort of most people. But a lot of people, we're sort of asleep. We don't live we are not our truest self. We don't live the life that we actually should live or want to live, but we're just sort of like hypnotized. We're hypnotized and we do like what the algorithm wants us to do. And when I'm talking about the algorithm, it's not necessarily the social media algorithms, but overall the algorithm. So maybe you have a job and that's your algorithm. So you have your 9 to 5 and that's your algorithm. And then you get your social media algorithm, and then you have your social influence algorithm, your friends, your family, people that you hang around with. That's your algorithm. And you're stuck in this algorithm, and for whatever reason, You are looking at things like, how can I improve my life? How can I become more productive? How can I maybe make a little bit more money? How can I maybe have a little bit more freedom? Whatever it is. But what you don't see is that you're stuck in an algorithm. And it's the algorithm that is actually hurting you and that is keeping you from who you truly are. I gave a workshop a couple days ago at Genius Network. And Genius Network is a group of entrepreneurs that I go to regularly for over 12 years. And it's also called the 100K group. And 100K is because all of these entrepreneurs who come to Genius Network, they invest $100,000 a year to be in that group. So I had to speak in front of like a big group of entrepreneurs that invest $100,000 per year to be in that group. And it's interesting because when I have to speak at Genius Network, I always ask myself the question, like, what's the most valuable thing that I can teach these entrepreneurs? And I can talk about making money, I can talk about scaling business, I can talk about hiring people, I can talk about whatever it is. But what I did and what I decided to do, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, and it's sort of like, I wouldn't say the only thing that I'm passionate about, but I'm very passionate about this, is how to create white space. And I'm not talking about white space today during this call, but during that talk a couple days ago at the 100K group, I talked about how to create white space. And white space literally is that, like white space in your calendar, white space to think, white space to feel, white space to have the most amazing life, just space. And a lot of entrepreneurs, especially successful entrepreneurs, also a lot of not so successful entrepreneurs, they don't have a lot of white space because their calendar is just filled with a lot of obligations, and their calendar is filled with their algorithm, the algorithm that they're currently in. So my invitation to them is to create more white space. Why? Not necessarily to also spend more time with your children, with your parents, your friends, spend more time with yourself, all of those things. And I could go on and on and on. But maybe even most important, to create white space so you actually know who you truly are. I heard this saying a couple months ago, if you don't know who you are, you become what you do. And a lot of us, we become what we do because we're just in this algorithm, and that's who we became. But it's not who we truly are. So I just shared that what I'm going to talk about today, you probably or most likely won't do, because most people won't do this. And that's just me being honest, and it's not me being judgmental, and it's also me being aware that I might not even be doing this. I think I'm doing it at a pretty good extent, but I might not be doing this fully. So there's also a reminder to myself. I do feel that I'm very aware of this, and it's something that I sort of like live for. And what I live for is to really live my truest self, like really trying to dissolve who I am not and really living the life that's most true to myself and my being. And the invitation for today is the following, and this is something that most people will never do. The invitation is the following, and it is to make the hardest decision of your life. What would be the hardest decision of your life that's also the best decision of your life? And maybe you already feel like, man, I'm not sure if I'm willing to make the hardest decision of my life because this and this and this. Or maybe you'll be like, I have no clue what the hardest decision of my life would be. Maybe you're there. But if you are stuck in your algorithm, and if you know that deep down inside there's something else available for you, something that is more of who you are, something where you can really, really be true to yourself, maybe it's time to break free from that algorithm. And it's interesting, I had a conversation a couple of years ago with one of my private clients, and she said to me, because I was telling her about the hardest decision of my life that I made maybe 6 months prior. And I told her like how hard it was, but also how good it was, because it's so funny. You can make the hardest decision, but if it's your truth, it's way less hard than we think. And yes, it's hard oftentimes, but what's harder? Is it harder to make a decision that changes everything? Or is it harder to live a lie? So she said to me, the universe rewards you for making brave decisions. And I think, we have to make more brave decisions. But sometimes there's just one big brave decision that we're not willing to make because it's just too big. And maybe again, you'll be like, I have no clue what you're talking about, and I don't know if I need to make a hard decision. That's fine. But then challenge yourself or invite yourself. First of all, ask yourself the question, is this true? Yes or no? And second of all, is if it's true, if you know like, I don't need to make, I don't know what the hardest decision of my life would be, then I invite you to do some research, like, okay, but what would be a really hard decision for me to make that would radically change my life? So if you look at the vanilla version of this, like the easy version of this almost, so I'll use two examples. I'll use the vanilla example, it's an easy hard decision, and I'll use maybe a little bit more of a hardcore decision. So a vanilla decision, a relatively easy decision is, okay, I'm not in the best shape of my life. I've been trying to get in the best shape of my life. I don't really like to be uncomfortable. And, but I'm very uncomfortable with just my situation right now, health-wise. And I've been trying to lose weight forever, or I've been trying to get healthy forever. I'm trying to go to gym forever, whatever it is. But for whatever reason, it's just not really working out because I sort of like lack the discipline. And so I make the hard decision to invest a big amount of my money and my time in the best personal trainer in my area. So I decide to really go work out, train with the best personal trainer in my area for 4 or 5 or even 6 times a week. So I do this investment of maybe $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a month, whatever it is. Could be all of your life savings. Maybe it's even better if it's all of your life savings into a personal trainer. And then knowing, okay, that's a hard decision because I might not be able to go on a holiday this year because I'm investing all this money, or I might not be able to do X, Y, or Z because I'm investing a lot of time to go to the gym or whatever. So it's a sacrifice for some of us. For some of us, it's just go to the gym or go to a trainer. It's fine. I'll pay the invoice. I make enough money anyway, and I got a lot of time anyway. So that's sort of like a vanilla type of hard question, which is still something that if you made that decision, like right now we're at 1/3 of the year. It's done, and we got 8 months left for this year. If you would make that decision right now, and if you would be in that position, you would know for a fact that in 8 months you'll have a different body, and you'll have a different level of health. So that's a hard decision, and I also say this program is called Impossible 2026. And I say this because we're 1/3 through the year. And if you haven't achieved your goals in the last 4 months, if you haven't really booked a lot of progress, even though you had this intention to become more prolific and more productive, maybe, there's some different measures right now. And one of the measures could be like a hard decision. But that's like sort of the vanilla hard decision, which is fine. It can be a total game changer, and it could be a domino actually to even bigger decisions if you don't know what your big decision has to be right now. So that's a vanilla question. The really hard decision, and this is another example. So I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just giving you some ideas and some examples of how you can radically change your life. And then obviously it's up to you, like, whatever you want to do. But an example of a really, really hard decision is maybe you're in a relationship and deep down inside, you know, it's not for me. Like this relationship that I'm in, it's just not for me anymore. I'm just not happy in this relationship. And I don't see this relationship ever really evolving into something that's really nourishing me, inspiring me, where I'm happy, where I'm fully myself, where I feel vibrant, where I feel alive, where I feel seen. Maybe you know, like it'll never work out. It will never really, really work out. But I'm stuck in this algorithm, and this algorithm, like it's working. Maybe you have children. And you'll be like, yeah, I'm in this algorithm right now and we got children. I can't just leave my partner. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you're like, yeah, I'll sit it through. I'll sit through like for a couple more years, and then, you know, when the kids are adults, then maybe. And again, I'm not saying that you should do anything, but it's an example of a really hard decision. Like you could be in a relationship and your children, they might be like 13 and 15. And you'll be like, you know what? I'll stick it out for another 2 or 3 years, it's fine. Maybe that's the best decision you can make. But maybe it's the worst decision you can make. You know, sometimes you don't need to make like these extremely hard decisions if it makes life way more difficult. But sometimes you do. And sometimes those decisions are the hardest decisions, but the best decisions. Oftentimes, the hardest decisions are the best decisions. If you truly, deep down inside, know that right now it's just not right, you're not living your truest self, you're not being your truest self, you're not living a true life to yourself, and maybe you need to make that decision. And that's a really, really, really hard decision that will change everything. However, I do feel that if you truly feel, if your intuition tells you it's just not right, however, my algorithm, my life demands of me to stay true to this algorithm, what would happen if you would make the decision to step out of the algorithm and to practice, and this is what I talked about as well at the 100K meeting, to practice clean slate thinking. That you make the decision like, okay, what would my life look like if I had nothing? If I had nothing. If I had no friends, no family, no business, no, like, it's completely, you wake up tomorrow morning and your whole life, it's just not there anymore. It's not that you lost it, but you just simply have no recollection of your past life, and you start with a clean slate. Just imagine, I think this is a very, very powerful thought experiment. It's funny, I actually have a journal which is called White Space. And it's literally for that. So you can, and like my journal, this is my own journal actually. Yeah, it has white pages, so you can think freely, like think from a clean slate. So if you would wake up tomorrow morning with nothing, you have no recollection of your past, you don't know what music you like, you don't know what food you prefer, you do have your wisdom, you do have your knowing, your deeper knowing, so you didn't really change, but it's just that your physical world is a new reality, and maybe best case scenario, you also all your experience that you had, they're not in your system anymore, but also a lot of your beliefs that you accumulated through your life, they're not in your system anymore, and you wake up as the purest version of yourself. Who would you be? What would you eat if you were the purest version of yourself? If you would get in a car and drive, or if you get on a plane and fly to the place where you would be and feel most alive, would it literally be the exact same home that you're living in right now? Would it be the exact same village or town that you live in right now? Would you start the exact same business? Would you charge exactly what you're charging right now? Would you want to fall in love with the exact same person that you're with right now? Like, would you do all of those things again? Or would you be open and free and really having the white space to feel and know and discover like who you truly are? So it's very hard to get there. And even it's very hard to get there as a thought experiment if you're too stuck in your algorithm and if you're too committed to your algorithm. So this is the big invitation. The invitation is to slowly dissolve what's not serving you anymore. And sometimes it's slowly dissolving what's not serving you anymore. And that's the vanilla version. That's okay, I want to go to the gym, I want to work with a trainer because I need to get healthier. That's dissolving like a less healthy version of yourself. But sometimes you have to make the hardest decision of your life. And with making that hardest decision of your life, knowing that it's not for you anymore, but also knowing that you gave it your all, that can radically transform your whole life. It might be the hardest time of your life, but it might also be, in hindsight, in the future, the best decision you've ever made. Probably, hopefully. Maybe not. Maybe it's not working out. Maybe everything goes to mayhem. But at least you made the decision that's truest to yourself. At least you're living as true as you can. You're living your truth. And we've heard this all before, like the truth shall set you free. So my invitation for you today is the following. Of course you can get better where you are right now. Of course you can improve. Of course, you can scale, whatever. You can do all the things. But this program is called Impossible 2026. It's not called Improve Your 2026. It's not called Make It a Little Bit Better 2026. It's not called Achieve 3 of your goals 2026. No, it's called Impossible 2026. And sometimes you have to make a decision that feels impossible to you. And oftentimes those decisions, they actually create the biggest breakthroughs of your life. But are you brave enough to make those decisions? But if you're brave enough to make those decisions, then the universe will reward you for making those big decisions. So what's needed for you? What's necessary for you to make 2026 impossible? Like, which decisions do you need to make? And last thing that I want to share with you, to make it very tactical, what I see oftentimes when it's, when people follow a program, they go to an event, they actually have a mentor or whatever, they have these breakthroughs during an event or during a talk or during a coaching session or whatever. They feel like, oh man, they have this big breakthrough, and then all of a sudden, then what they do after a session like that is they come up with an intention. My intention is to love myself more. My intention is to become healthier. My intention is to become more present. And those intentions, they're amazing. However, tomorrow morning you're checking your mailbox and you get an invoice that you didn't want to get, and whatever, you're stressed out. And no, it's not about intentions. It's about decisions. And even the word decisions, people get it mixed up. When I say a decision, I say a decision. It's not like, oh, I made the decision to love myself more. No. If you want to love yourself more and you want to make a decision, then what you do is you go to booking.com and you book a hotel and you go to a flight and you book your flight. That's a decision. I love myself more. I want to love myself more, so I want to spend more time with myself. So I make the decision to book this ticket and go to this hotel so I have more time with myself. That's a decision that I respect. If the decision is, oh, I'm going to love myself more, okay, that's cool, whatever. Oh, I made the decision to get healthier. I really want to get healthier, so I decide to get healthier. Is that a decision or is that an intention? I don't really respect that decision. I mean, I respect it, it's nice. But what I respect is, okay, you send a message to a trainer, okay, let's train for 4 to 6 times a week. I made the decision I want to be better in my relationships. I want to have better relationships. Okay, that's cool. That's a cool intention. But a decision is, okay, I'm going to quit the relationships that are not serving me anymore, that I would never start again if I had to start over. If I would wake up tomorrow morning with a clean slate, I would never get into that relationship anymore. Well, if you know that, then a really brave decision is to cut out that relationship. Could be a partner, could be a friend, could be a teammate, could be a client, whatever it is. So there's a big distinction between intention and decision. And a lot of people, they confuse decision with intention. Deciding means to cut off, to really, really, really practically make a decision to cut something off or to go for something, to make a decision, to sign up for something or to opt out of something. And that's what most people are afraid to do. And that's why I go back like, okay, most people during this program, the Impossible 2026, making the hardest decision of your life, most people will never do it. Most people will never do it, and they're stuck in their algorithm. However, some people do it, and all of a sudden their life completely changes. And they have the heart to go through it. And they have maybe the willpower, the strength to go through it. And once they went through it, they're in a different situation, in a different life. So that's what I wish for you. I wish for you, and I can't decide for you, obviously, what's good or bad for you. But I wish for you that your intuition is so strong and so loud that you know what's true for yourself. And then you can make decisions based on that intuition. And know that if you live your truth, that the truth shall set you free and that the chips fall where they may. And that you're completely okay with whatever happens, because it's not okay that where you're at right now, if your life is not where you want it to be and if you're not living the truest version of yourself. So if you want to make 2026 impossible, make that decision. Skip the intentions, really go for the hardest decision of your life, and your life can radically transform.